Shalom. It is so good to be with you again. So I've written 4 new letters on the board today. We want to go through those again. Paleo Hebrew is what they used in the ancient times. They didn't have written letters where they wrote a letter. They would write symbols on broken pot shards and transfer those to somebody to take a message to them using these particular symbols. So as we've done Aleph, Beit, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, I'm going to ask you to refer back to last week's teaching so that you can grasp those. Hopefully you wrote them down. And so today we're going to do Vav, Zayin, Chet, and Tet. We're going to cover 4 today and just continue with the words, breaking those down into the Paleo Hebrew, okay? So Vav, in its Paleo Hebrew form, is this little guy right here. And the concept of Vav is that it was a nail or a tent peg, and it means to add to, or there is something being joined to it. Okay, so you could just take like a tent peg and there was a rope that was going to be joined to it. If you're using a vav linguistically, and it's at the beginning of a word, it means and. So you could use a sentence like the boy and there's something else that needs to come with the boy. The boy and the girl were going to school, all right? So there's, whenever you see vav, it's a connector to something, all right? And usually at the beginning of a word, linguistically, it means and. So it means that you secure something in place, you pierce something because you would put the peg in the ground, or we know a nail. Of course, the prime example of course is Yeshua, but we also have, if you were nailing pieces of wood together to make a fence or putting something together to pierce it, to hold it, it was a piercing that would happen. And it was also something to open up something. So you could put a peg down into the ground and it would open up the earth, or into a piece of wood and it would open up the piece of wood. The concept of this, of course, is that you drive something into a secure place that will hold once it's joined to something else. In other words, when the tent peg was put into the ground, it had to be fixed into the ground in a solid fashion, so that when that rope from the tent was connecting it to, and if you've ever seen some of those huge windstorms, massive windstorms that they get in the Arabian deserts over there, you know that the wind can stir up a lot of chaos. And so that tent peg, or those tent pegs, had to be secure in the ground, and then the rope connecting to the tent also had to be secured. So you understand vav means a securing of one thing to another. Very important for us when we begin to understand the scriptures here. All right, let's go on. The next one, zayin. All right, zayin. Zayin in the Paleo Hebrew is this thing right here, and it's more like a weapon or a plow, depending on how you're using it. It could be an axe head, or it could be a plow that was pulled by the oxen. And again, you would just have to read the Paleo Hebrew in context to know if it was an oxen pulling a plow, or if it was somebody being beaten with an axe, or if a weapon, okay? So you just have to understand when you read the Paleo Hebrew. This is why it's important for us to keep things in context whenever we're talking and teaching about them. Of course, the concept behind it is that when it is used as a plow, it was a focal point of sustenance, meaning if you were using this in writing about it, using it as a symbol, then when they would show this and it was attached to an ox, and if they were riding that, let's say there was an aleph by it, which is an ox, and then this, it means the oxen is plowing. Okay, and what it means is that they're planting, and that's going to bring forth food. That would be the message or the concept behind it, okay? But let's just say you put a resh in front of this, which is a man or a head, and then this could be turned into a weapon, and so the man was using a weapon. All right, so you see the difference in the concepts here. And again, you have to put it into context of whatever was being symbolized on that potsherd to understand exactly what is being said. And it takes a little bit of time to begin to do this, but if you will do this, you'll begin to see some great things developing whenever you begin to go deeper into the Word and meditate on the Word. So it could be used as a point of sustenance or a point of struggle, all right, if there was a weapon involved. The next word, chet, that's with that guttural, chet, all right, and this is a fence. So chet is a wall, it is a fence, it is separation or private, meaning that it separates the outer from the inner. It separates that field from this field. It separates that room from this room. It was a place of separation whenever they would have a chet, and it represents transcendence, meaning to go beyond that place so that you can be in a separated place. So you're in this place, you want to transcend through a wall, transcend through from one place into another so that you can have greater understanding or life. And today in modern Hebrew, they use this letter right here as a symbol of life. They would put a yod beside it, and it becomes chai, which is life. And so this was a symbol of life as well. And again, you just had to read in context the Paleo Hebrew to understand what it was saying. But the concept is this, that you transcend from one place to another, and you're bringing forth life. So you're going from a bad place to a good place. You're going from a dark place into a light place. You're going from nothing to something. That is the concept behind this. It's not that you're keeping something out, but there is something that is separating you, and you want to move beyond that separation so that it can bring life. Okay? So again, our concept today of separation could mean a variety of things, but in the Paleo Hebrew, it could mean that that they just didn't have fences in those days like what we would call a fence today. All right, they had boundary markers, but they didn't build those fences that says this is my property. All right, you have to understand that the concept is that we can transcend beyond this, but there has to be a purpose to transcend beyond it, or we shouldn't be doing this. And so you can think of Israel when they were going through leaving Egypt, and they had to go the long way because those who were in the land didn't want them going through their boundary markers. It wasn't a fence. Israel asked for permission to cross through, and they weren't allowed, so they had to go around. And so to cross through, the purpose was to make the trip shorter. Yahweh truly wanted them to go around. And so we can see that the purpose to transcend something is life needs to come forth. Let's keep going. Tet is the next letter. It looks like X marks the spot, which it could be. Tet means to surround. It could mean a basket, or it could mean a snake is there, coiled, ready to strike. Okay? And so the concept is that something can be carried or held or surrounded by when this letter is involved.